What's going on, y'all? I had posted a video and I took it down. I got probably enough footage to make another video, but I'm gonna do this instead. I may re-upload that video. I may change something on it or whatever, but I may I don't know. I wanted to I mentioned something in that video. I was talking about how I've spent time with the Lord, and how he was with me last year. He's with me all the time. Now, after I said that, it was like I started remembering all these times that I had near I guess you could probably say near death experiences. Last year at that hospital, I basically stared death right in the face. I was never afraid, and the only reason I was never afraid was because I knew God had me in His hand. I had been telling people that God spoke this world into existence. That what I had going on, as bad as it was, that was still nothing for Him. But I think the Lord has He kept me. He's always had His hand on me, and this is like last year. I stared death right in the face, and I was never, from the moment I found out, I was never afraid. I was never nervous. And it's like I said, God spoke this world into existence, and I knew that whatever is as big of a deal as it was I had going on, I knew it wasn't impossible for Him to take care of it. And I even said, if He chooses to, if the surgery goes in a bad direction, He's still got it. And if I don't make it through it, He's still got it. He still got me. I want to share a few times that I know, even when I cried out to God, people may not want to watch. They may not want to watch me no more. The few that have, they may not want to watch me no more. Saying I may be too religious or whatever, and that's fine. That's your business, But I watched a sermon not too long ago, about a week or so ago, and Jesus said, it says right there in the Bible, He said, if you deny me before man, I'll deny you before my Father. Jesus is the only way to heaven, folks. That's the last thing. Let's just say this: there's no such thing as an atheist when they pass away, because they say when you're absent of the body, you're in the presence of the Lord, and you stand and you give an account right then. He either says, "Depart, I don't know you," or well done, good and faithful servant. That's the only two things you're going to hear. And we have the choice here. While we still got breath, we still have the choice to accept Him as our Savior. Okay? And like I said, YouTube may take me down. People may, the few that have been watching, y'all may not ever want to watch me again, and that's fine. That's your business. But I felt like when I said that, I felt like that I needed to share this and give the Lord His credit for all of this. I first and foremost want y'all to know, if you hadn't already figured out, that Jesus is my Savior. Okay? I'm not going to get on here and make a claim, and tell y'all to pray and all that stuff. I hold myself accountable. But I wanted to share a few times in my life that God has really protected me. I can tell you 2 times in the past couple of years. One time was last year. I just when you're in a desperate situation, you don't have to have this elaborate prayer, and all that. It even says that in the Bible about beating your chest and making a big show and all that. That's not what God wants. It says you receive your blessing right then. For the show. When you're in a desperate situation, God knows your heart. He knows the attitude of your heart, and if you're coming to Him sincerely. And when you're in a desperate situation, that's just a simple one little word, couple sentence, like a one little sentence, short prayer, and He'll answer that. I've witnessed that personally twice in my life. I've seen. I'll say this. One time, it was after I graduated from high school, and I was still living with my mom, and I was working. I had to get up at like 4 o'clock in the morning. When you're 18 years old, I had just graduated from high school, or I had not been out of high school long. Man, getting up at 4 o'clock in the morning is unheard of. I had to get up, and I had this landscaping job that I worked at. We had this cigarette company that was down there where I live. They've since moved that operation up to North Carolina. The building and all is still there. It was one of the highest paying jobs in that area at the time. If you had a job there, you was set. But I worked for a company that did landscaping out there. So me and my mom worked on the base, the big Air Force base there. Me and her had got into this huge argument. Just like a huge argument. Now, I love my mom to death. But, she said something to me, and I fired back, and it was just screaming at each other. And this was like 4 in the morning, 5 o'clock in the morning, whatever time it was. And I leave out, and I slammed the door, and I was mad and everything else, And I had this old car. It was like a 76. It was like a 76 Corolla SR5. It kind of had a hatchback look, but it was a small car. And I used to have this big, huge, like, stereo system in it. I had like the whole back seat taken out. Had these big 15-inch woofers in it. Had all these big. It was ridiculous. That was back in the day. All right. So I left out, and I literally pulled out. I went down the street, and there's a big 4-lane highway that goes that goes right beside the Air Force base. All right. Well, there was a railroad track there, and you come to this traffic stop, this traffic light. All right. Like I said, there's nobody out there. It's like 4:35 o'clock in the morning. Well, I get the green light. Now, I'm not looking, like back then, I was still mad. I was still mad at my mom, and like I said, it was a real bad argument we got into. I mean, it was really bad. I mean, she was screaming at me, I was screaming at her back, and just on and on and on, I was 18 years old. But as soon as I got the green light, I pull out, and all of a sudden I heard tires. And I didn't know anything. I didn't know any different. I'd never been in a situation like that before. So it's pitch black dark, and I look up. I look to my left, and I just stopped, just because I heard tires screeching, and I just stopped. And I looked to my left, and all I could see was these headlights coming at me. And it was just like deer in headlights. I was just sitting there. It was like a sitting duck. Now I know what to do in a situation like that. But then I was 18. I didn't know what to do. I'm sitting there, and I see these lights getting closer and closer and closer. He was going really fast. I don't know how fast he was going, but he was going way above the speed limit. Way above the speed limit. All right, the car was right there. I could literally see the grill of this car through the headlights. That's how close this car was to me. And I had already done, and I'm in this little crackerjack box of a car. All right. My car had these older cars. They used to have these rubber bumper things on the sides of the back bumper, like on the sides. They were like these, the heavy rubber piece that was on the bumper. All right. Well, that was what was on the sides of my rear bumper. All right. Well, as this car's right there, I had already done scrunched up, and I'm embracing for impact. I didn't think anything. I was just figuring he was going to hit me. And he was right there. He was right there. And all of a sudden, that car, and he's coming right at my door. All right. And just as he got to my door, all of a sudden, that car veered to the right. It was almost like somebody took their hand and pushed that car, just pushed it out of the way. That's what it looked like. All right. All he did was he hit that little side rubber piece onto my back bumper. He knocked it off, but he slid about 100 feet past my car. Now, you know as good as I do, if you're in a slide, you're not going to all of a sudden make an abrupt turn like that. If you're in the middle of a slide, that car's going to keep going straight. You're not going to be able to steer it because you're in a slide. You done lock the brakes up. The only way to let the brake, you still going, even the only way to get out of it is let out the brake. He still would have been going straight. He still would have plowed into my car. He'd have killed. He'd make a long story short, he'd have killed me. Okay. And it lit it, and I got the car, and it was some older guy, he was, because I was 18, he was probably, I don't know, he was in the 50s or 60s. I mean, which back then I thought that was ancient. I thought that was like Methuselah or somebody, But, I mean, and I didn't think nothing about it, I was like, you all right, whatever, and I got, whatever. So I got back in the car, and I proceeded on to work. And it was like, I started realizing that this dude, I could have got killed. All right. So and it scared me. Then I think I called my mom later that day, and I just told her I was sorry, told her I loved her and all that, because I realized I could have got killed. And that was the time I realized that you don't ever want to take a day for granted. I want y'all to see. Let me show y'all.
See the sunset. Man, that's pretty. It's pretty sunset.
But you don't ever want to take a day for granted. Always treat. Whenever you see your loved ones, anybody that you care for, always treat that moment as if it's going to be the last time you'll ever see them. because it was only by the grace of the Lord that I didn't die in that wreck. I could have if he'd have hit me, he'd have killed me. And then my mom, and I know she would have had, a guilty conscience, and then and I would have gone to hell, because I was not, even though I grew up in church, I was not saved. I had not given my life to the Lord. So it would have just been a bad situation. But you don't ever want to leave. You don't ever want to do that to your family. I always treat that moment as if it'd be the last time you'll ever see them. All right. I learned that lesson when I was 18. I mentioned it in the video I took down. I was almost in what I thought was about to be a wreck. I was passing somebody. I used to have a Toyota Supra, and everybody knows them cars are fast. I was passing this guy, and I said, I still do to a point. I'm tempered. Back then, I had no fear. I didn't care. I didn't care about my license. I didn't care about anybody. If you ever seen that part where, in fact, in the first Fast and Furious movie, where Brian and Dom are racing down to the railroad track, and Dom's in a black Charger, and Brian's in that orange Supra, and they race into that race, and the way that's the mentality I used to have. And but I was passing. There was about 5 cars. I was on this 2-lane road, and I passed about. I just took off, and I was getting around all these cars, and I was going up a hill. But my car was fast enough. I thought I could get around all of them. Well, I was right. I was about the 3rd or 4th car. I only had like one more car to get, and right as I get up there, a car topped the hill. Well, I go to hit my brakes. Well, my car spun around because it's rear-wheel drive. It spun around, and I didn't have any control over it. At that moment, it was like a split-second thing. It was like I knew I was fixing to die. And my car, it just kind of slid off the road, and there was just one little spot. Now, it was a big ditch all the way down that road. But there was just one little grassy area. And it was like somebody just took their hand and guided that car right to that little grassy area, and it just came to a stop. I didn't do that. That's another time. When I first started driving, I was in Wyoming, and I was climbing the Elk Mountain. It was in December. And this is before they were so crazy about the chain laws and all that. I mean, you had to have chains on the truck, but they didn't make you put them on. My tires were, and this is what made me leave this company at the time. I was going uphill, and I lost traction. And every time I downshifted, I was losing. It goes spinning. The last thing you want to have happen is to be going uphill and come to a complete stop. That is the last thing you want to have happen. Because to get started back up is almost impossible. I've seen it happen, and it's not good. You always want to maintain some kind of momentum. All right. So I'm going uphill. Now my tires were down to the bare minimum legally, and I'm on ice with this. Every time I downshifted, it'd go to spinning. I got down to my last gear shift. Because if it didn't work this time, I was gonna have to stop. And I remember right in the middle of that gear shift, I meant it too. I just said, "Please let this work, Lord," like that. And if you ever been on a roller coaster, right before that roller coaster takes off, there's always this sudden jolt where the chain will hook up to the underneath of the the train or whatever. I mean, I don't know if it's the front part or where it hooks, but however it hooks up to the train, there's always that sudden like, bam, like that. But that's what that truck did. I just right in the middle of my gear shift, I just said, and I meant it, Lord, please let this work, like that. And right as I put it in gear, it was like the whole truck just did that, like bam, like it hooked up. And I wasn't going about maybe 10 miles an hour, but I made it over that hill. All right, and I got, because the guy, I was running with another guy. We had a load of lumber on. We had picked it up out of Northern California, taking it to Denver, and it hooked up. And I got to the truck stop, got there to the Petro there in Laramie. Went in there, and I'd done been at this company for about a month, and they were all the time talking about safety and this, that, and the other. But I ended up leaving that company because of it. All right. Last year, I'll tell you another time, I used to drink real bad. Used to drink real bad. I was what they call a happy drunk. I was real shy, and everything else. But when I got drinking, I was always real quiet, kind of reserved, and just didn't really have a whole lot to say. But I'd get to drinking, and it was like that. My true, how I really can be, would come out, and I was everybody's friend, and I was talking. I was real talkative, and I was just life of the party at that point. I don't drink anymore. I haven't drank anything in a while. That's just my what I feel like. I feel like the Lord wouldn't want me to do that. And I gave it up cold turkey. And I used to drink all the time. But I used to drink every day. I wouldn't drink on Sundays though. I was tearing it up Monday through Saturday. And every night. I was going out every night. And one day, I was what they call a functional drunk. All right? And I woke up on my bed, and my face was in a pile. Face first. Woke up and I had to puked in my sleep because I was just that drunk. All right. Now, how many people have died from, from that? They get sick in their sleep and they suffocate. It just happened to be. I just happened to be on my stomach. And my friends, they talked to me, and they would, when I told them, when I mentioned to them, I was like, man, you ain't gonna believe what happened to me. Woke up this morning, man, my face was in a pile of puke, and they were like, hey, man, we need to talk to you, man. At least they cared enough, And then his girlfriend at the time, she really got on to me about it, Last year, I could have died, but last year, it was after we didn't have my sister's funeral. I had to go out. I was home for about a month to, I was the one having to make the decision for that. And it was about this time last year. It was about another 2 weeks. It'll be a year that she passed away. All right. So she passed away from this life. She's in heaven now because of it. It's never too late. I'll tell you that. I always remember the thief on the cross. It's never too late. As long as you got breath, it's never too late. But we had her funeral, and then it was about a day or two. I asked him for a few days to just kind of soak everything in. I knew I needed to go back to work, but I think it was like a day or two before I was supposed to go back out. I was having severe back pain. I mean, it was severe, bad. It was so bad that I thought I was losing my mind. I mean, it literally felt like somebody had drove a railroad spike in the side of my hip, and it was like in my lower back area. I mean, I could not get comfortable. And I got a bed. It's one of these adjustable beds where it raises the feet and the back, or I can lower down. And it's one of them type things. I never could get comfortable. And the only place at the time that I could get comfortable was in my car, because my car had this seat, and usually I'd go out in the car. I was sleeping in my car. The only place I could get any comfort, because my back would hurt. It was the only position I could get in. There was something about the seat in that car that would provide. It would press on that spot or something. I don't know what it was, but even that night I could not get any comfort. And I'm thinking, I'm not going to be able to go out to work. And I mean, I'm literally almost in tears. It hurt. I was just in agony, just crying out. I was in a lot of pain. And I remember looking up. I remember it was what do they call it, a crescent moon. I think it was a crescent moon that night. But I remember the moon was like right there, and I was sitting there, and I could not get comfortable. And I was just trying to get some sleep. I had done been up for like a day or two, because of, there was a lot of nonsense. There was a lot of stuff that happened leading up to my sister's, I had to take her off life support, and there was a lot of stuff that went on before and after the funeral, and I was still grieving, and and then I had this happen, and I was in a lot of pain. And I remember looking up, and I meant it. I just said, "Lord, please help me." That's all I said. I said, "Lord, please help me." And I remember, now you can believe this or not, I'm telling you, just like that sunset right there, like I'm sitting here at this building. I said, if you put it on a scale from 1 to 10, mine was probably about 25. It hurt that bad. I mean, I was literally almost in tears. Okay. And I know the security guard ain't coming around here to make me leave. But anyway. Hold on a second. Well, they changed my appointment back to 8 o'clock. Security guard, he was nice enough to walk up here, and he checked on it. But anyway, I was, and I had been hurting for hours. And I just looked up. It was like a last resort. I looked up at the moon, and I meant it. I meant every word of it. I just said, "Lord, please help me." And I think that the actual way I said it was, "Lord, please help me," like that. And I remember that as soon as I said that, it was almost immediately after I said that, I could feel that all the pain didn't go away, but it was at least enough of the pain subsided that I could at least go to sleep. And that's all I needed. That's all I needed. I wasn't asking to be healed. I just asked I just needed some help. I mean, and I was taking. It's a miracle that I didn't die from. Basically Tylenol poisoning. I was taking this 2 or 3 times a day. I mean, I've got a relative that used to be a nurse, and she was telling me, Brian, you're taking way too much of this. You're taking way too much of it. And I told her, I said, well, I would rather my kidneys stop functioning. At least I won't be hurt. And I said, if I happen to die in the process, then at least I won't hurt no more. I don't have any kidney problems. I was taking so much. Now you're only supposed to take like 2 Tylenol maybe a couple times a day. I was taking about 5 or 6 at a time, several times a day. And my doctor had prescribed me with this, it's a non-narcotic pain pill. It's like a prescription dose of Aleve, basically what it is. You can't get it in the drugstore, but it's just a prescription dosage of it. Now, if you take enough Aleve, it basically equals that, but it's really this particular medicine is not good for you. It's not good for your kid. Well, I was taking this stuff several times a day. I mean, I didn't care. I just didn't want to hurt no more. And I remember I just said, Lord, please help me. And he was like, immediately, I could feel it. It almost felt like a tingling sensation. It was like I could feel enough. I could feel some of the pain. Now all of it didn't go away. That's not what I'm saying. But it was like immediately some of it started to subside. And I remember laying in the seat back, and I could feel it subside. And I remember saying, thank you, Lord. And a few minutes later, I was asleep. And I slept in the car that night. Now I'd wake up. I was having to sleep in the car a lot. And I'd wake up and my ankles were probably 2 or 3 times the size they need to be, because I was sleeping with my feet down. And it's just a miracle. And then I found out about my back. And I did a whole video about my back. My blood pressure after that surgery was 205 over 120. My pastor, like I said, I don't have any immediate. I'm the last person in my immediate family to be living. That nurse, now this is at a world-renowned hospital. The nurse was sitting right beside me, and I can't see the monitor. And my pastor was looking at me, and I've known my pastor since I was in the 9th grade. I'd never seen him look like the way he was looking at me that day. And when I woke up, now this surgery was like 10 hours long. When I woke up, I remember the doctor, he was waking me up, and the first thing I said was, where's my pastor? Because he was there with me. I didn't have any family, and he was my family. And he was like, I'm gonna be up there, and that's just gonna be it. I mean, that's how people deal with me. They don't give me a choice in it, which I like that. So anyway, he was looking at me, and he was sitting there looking at my blood pressure. Now, I had just got through the surgery. They had to cut my spinal cord open and get this tumor that was about 6 inches long that was inside my spinal cord. They had to cut it open, get the stuff out, and then they had to suture everything back up and all that. I mean, it was very delicate. All right. Well, my blood pressure was out of sight. People have died from blood pressures or had major strokes. They've died from blood pressure lower than that. And I was sitting there, and he was looking at me like he had this very grim look on my face. And I remember a nurse coming around, and she kept asking me, "Are you in any pain?" And I was leveling my pain off really that night in the car. And I was like, I was hurting, but I was not hurting like I was gauging everything off that night. And I was like, "No, I'm good." Yeah. She finally came over there and she said, I'm going to give you some pain medicine. And she finally told me, she kind of let me in. She goes, look, I need you to cooperate with me. They had, when I woke up, they told me, I was like, where's my pastor at? I was like, awake right then. And I said, where's my pastor at? And they said, well, where's your family at? And I said, he is my family, and I want him back there, and I want him back there now. Well, they saw my blood pressure, so they got him right on back there. That was against their protocol. Now, I'm in the recovery room. They ain't supposed to have nobody in that recovery room, especially after something like that. But they brought him back there because they thought that would at least calm me down and help my blood pressure. My blood pressure, I really should have died. It's like I said, I stared death right in the face. When she told me, it was later that night. I was in recovery for like 8 or 9 hours before they finally got me into an ICU room that night. I think they had to get my blood pressure down before they could really bring me into a room. I think. But I know this is gonna be a kind of a long video. I really felt like I needed to let y'all in on this. But later that night, and I kept telling Pastor, man, you don't have to stay up here. No, I want to be here. And my blood pressure started coming down. Now it was like 2:00. They never told me. She when they were changing shifts, they told she was because they have to give an update to the nurse that comes in. They have to tell them everything about this is what he had done. This is what And I remember her saying, she's sitting right there, right beside me. When you have a major surgery like that, I mean, when you're in that type of recovery, they're right there. You have a personal nurse that's right there. They don't go anywhere. And I remember her saying, I've been fighting his blood pressure all day. And it was like that really brought it to be real. Because I'm on the phone texting people, and talking to people on the phone. I'm sitting there, I could have died at any moment, and but I remember my blood pressure it got below, the top number was below 170. I think it was like 168 over 100 or something like that. And it was starting to go in the right direction. And I remember my pastor, he just said, he was like, I'm proud of you, man, like that. He was looking at that blood pressure monitor the whole time, and he knew. He's seen a lot of people. He's had to do a bunch of funerals, and he's seen this. He knew. And I mean, the fact that I didn't have a major stroke, and I didn't have any major complications from all that, I don't have any liver, kidney damage or anything, it's a miracle. God touched me. I don't know why. But all these times he kept his hands on me. I was west of Houston one time. There's a rest area on I-10. It's west of Houston. It's on the left-hand side. And I pulled in there, and this is when I first started driving. And I was in there. I had pulled in there, and I was at the back, and I was sleeping over the steering wheel. And I mean, I woke up, and like I said, the trucks lined up in this thing, and there was one spot open. All right, so I pulled forward, and then I laid back down. I was just laying my head down because I was going to Laredo. I was going to Laredo, Texas that night. This is a long time ago. I laid my head back down. Now, mind you, I woke up. I was fully awake. And I was very cognizant. I saw there was one spot, so I pulled forward so the next guy could pull in. I laid my head back down. Well, then, just that fast, I was dead. I was out. All of a sudden, I hear this, like a big explosion. Well, what had happened is another truck had come off the road. I think he had a steel coil. But he had wrecked in that rest area. All right. Well, what had happened, to make a long story short, I know this is going to be a long video, but he had run off the road, and if I had not moved, he would have ran all in my truck. I don't know if he'd have killed me, but the coil was sitting over in the woods. What woke me up was later on, I woke up, I had my CB just kind of barely on, and I could hear people talking over the CB, and that's what woke me up. And I wake up, man, there's fire trucks all in there, wreckers, cops, ambulance, and this whole rest area was just out there on the interstate. It was just blinking lights everywhere. And I looked over, and it was a truck. It was all mangled up. I don't know. I'm assuming he probably died in the wreck. I don't know. But there was a steel coil sitting over in the woods. It come off the truck. I mean, it was a very, very violent wreck, very bad wreck. I found out that night, this girl that I grew up with, she's like a sister. I mean, she's real pretty, but she's like my sister. I mean, we grew up together, and that's how she'll always be like a sister to me. She was married at the time. She had a dream that night that I had got killed in a car, and it was that night. Because I found out, because her and my mother used to work together in the Air Force Base, and she, and I called my mom that next morning. I was telling her about the wreck, and so they were talking, and that's how we knew it was that night. She said, "Yeah, Wendy called me this morning and was trying to find out about Brian." And she then she told, she said that she had a nightmare last night that he got killed in a car wreck. And said that it was one of the dreams where it was just like real. Said she started praying right then. Just wherever he's at, just keep him safe. Well, it was that night. And I believe her prayer is what woke me up. Is contributed. I mean, God was watching. We have guardian angels. And that was just another way of, I say all these things. I'm not saying that I'm anything special or anything. I'm just saying that God has kept his hand on me all these years. And I don't deserve it. I have lived a life that's contrary to God, even though I grew up in church. But he gets all the credit. He gets all the glory. He gets all of everything, because without him, I wouldn't be here. Even any one of them situations, with the exception of maybe climbing a hill, But all them other situations, oh yeah. I couldn't afford to get a motorcycle. And I know as crazy as especially back then, as crazy as I was back then on a vehicle, the last thing I need to do is be on a crotch rocket, because I would have killed me and probably some people in the process. Because I had no fear. I just didn't care, But I just want to thank God. I want to give him credit. I want to give him. He gets all the credit for everything for me. I know I do. I try to be a good example. I try to be a good example for him each day, and I know I fail, each day. So I just wanted to make this video and put that out there, because I don't ever want people wondering. He always says something about the Lord. He always speaks about the Lord. But is he really a Christian? Is he really a child of God? Well, yeah, I am. I don't ever want to be. If YouTube takes me off, if y'all want to unsubscribe from me, then so be it. But I'm gonna proclaim. I'm gonna stand here and I'm gonna proclaim to everybody, the whole world, that I'm a child of God, and that through His Son Jesus, I believe on Him, and He paid the sacrificial penalty on the cross, and His blood cleansed my sins. And I have to ask God. I have to ask through Jesus every day. I have to ask Him to forgive me every day. You know, I'm not perfect. I'm not anything special. I'm just out here trying to earn a living. But I felt strong. I felt so strong when I said, you know, I need to let everybody know. I don't care if this video is an hour long, and if nobody watches, that's fine. I'm still gonna put this video out there, and everybody's gonna know that Jesus has His hand on me, and the only reason that I'm here breathing is because of Him, and He gets all the glory. So that's all. That's all. I mean, I've said a lot, but I mean, I just really wanted to put this out there. If y'all don't want to watch me no more, that's fine. But I just wanted it to be no doubt. But y'all take care of yourselves. I know today is Valentine's Day, and y'all take care of yourselves. I'll post something more trucking related probably tomorrow. Y'all take care of yourself. We'll see you.